Hello everyone, welcome to back my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and give this video a thumbs up. It's time to stand up in today's The bullpen of the Naval Criminal Investigative Services Washington, D.C. headquarters had settled into that particular, deceptive calm that usually precedes a Category 5 hurricane, with Special Agent Nicholas Torres absently spinning a pen between his fingers while Ellie Bishop's fingers flew across her keyboard, chasing down a financial ghost in Quantico, and Dr. Jimmy Palmer carefully restocked the coffee machine in the break room, blissfully unaware that within 60 seconds, the foundation of their professional lives would be reduced to rubble. It was a Tuesday, unremarkable, gray, and damp, when the tempered glass doors of the main entrance hissed open with a sound far too soft for the cataclysm that walked through them. The figure that stepped inside moved with a predator's grace, shadowed by the overcast sky behind him, his silhouette razor-sharp and unmistakable to anyone who had ever bled for this agency. He wore the same tactical glasses, the same coiled tension in his shoulders, and the same desert tan go bag slung over one arm, but his face, a face that had once been the last thing domestic terrorists and international arms dealers ever saw, was carved from something harder than duty. It was grief, fossilized into granite. Sam Hanna, presumed dead for 18 months after a catastrophic helo crash over the Syrian border, took 3 silent steps into the bullpen, and the world stopped. Torres's pen clattered to the desk, rolling in a lazy, horrified arc toward the edge. Bishop's hands froze mid-keystroke, her screen suddenly a meaningless blur of numbers. For a heartbeat, there was no sound except the faint hydraulic hiss of the elevator and the distant, ironic chirp of a ringtone from Vance's office above. Then McGee emerged from the server room, a tablet clutched to his chest like a shield, and the color drained from his face so fast that the freckles on his nose stood out like splattered ink. "No," McGee whispered, not a word of greeting, but a denial, a primal refusal of what his eyes were telling his brain. "No, that's not possible. I pulled the dental records myself. I stood in that hangar. I saw the flag." But Sam didn't look at McGee. He didn't look at the American flag draped in the corner, or the framed photos of Gibbs and Fornell, or the empty desk that had been preserved as a shrine to his memory, a shrine with a single, wilting peace lily that Casey had been secretly watering every Tuesday. Instead, Sam's dark, hollowed eyes swept the room with a cold, calculating precision that belonged to a man who had not slept in a bed, or trusted a soul, in over 500 days. He was leaner, his jaw sharper, a thin silver scar pulling at the corner of his mouth where shrapnel had carved a new, cruel smile. "Where is he?" Sam's voice was a low, gravelly rasp, scraped raw by sandstorms and screams that no debriefing room would ever hear. Torres finally found his voice, rising slowly from his chair with his hand drifting, purely by instinct, toward the Sig Sauer on his hip. "Sam. Man, you're dead. We buried you. We mourned you. My God, we played Amazing Grace on a bagpipe that was out of tune, and you let us. You let Bishop cry on my shoulder for 3 hours." Sam's gaze snapped to Torres, and for the first time, a flicker of something, anger, agony, or maybe just the ghost of the friend he used to be, softened the granite for a fraction of a second. "You think I had a choice?" he growled, stepping forward until he was close enough that Torres could smell the cordite and jet fuel still clinging to his gear. "You think I wanted to miss my daughter's graduation? To let my wife bury an empty casket? I was in a black site outside Raqqa before the wreckage even stopped smoking. They took me, Nick. They took me and they broke me, and then they put me back together wrong so I could be their ghost. But that's over now. He reached into his jacket, a motion so swift that 3 agents immediately drew their weapons, the clicks of safeties disengaging echoing like gunshots in the stunned silence. Sam didn't flinch. He slowly pulled out a battered, sand-scratched NCIS badge, his badge, the one they'd placed on his coffin, and tossed it onto Gibbs's desk. It spun twice before landing face up, the silver now tarnished almost black. "I'm not here to reclaim my life," Sam said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper that somehow filled the entire room. "I'm here to tell you that the man who ordered my extraction is sitting in the Oval Office. And the only person I trust to help me burn it all down is the one man you idiots fired 3 months ago for asking too many questions." Bishop's breath hitched. McGee's tablet slipped from his fingers and shattered on the floor. And upstairs, Director Vance had just opened his office door, his coffee mug freezing halfway to his lips as he stared down at the ghost who was now staring back up at him with the cold, patient fury of a man who had already died once, and was no longer afraid to do it again. The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was the sound of a conspiracy being born, heavy with the weight of treason, betrayal, and the horrifying, undeniable truth that for NCIS, the past was never really past. It just reloaded.